Okay, so today we're diving deep into some seriously mysterious stuff. We're talking about the great Sphinx of Giza. Hidden chambers, maybe even aliens, government cover-ups. It's going to be wild. We're pulling all this from alien tombs hidden under the Great Sphinx, which, let me tell you, has some mind-blowing claims.
Well, when you think about the Sphinx, right, it's the biggest stone statue anywhere on Earth, and we still don't really know what it's all about. Like, what's the point of this giant lion man thing? It's a puzzle, you know?
Totally. And get this, in 1817 they rediscovered it, and the whole thing was buried in sand. It took like 20 years to dig it out. Can you imagine?
And from what our source says, the Sphinx looked really different back then, super eroded, like maybe they never even finished it. Makes you think about how we try to preserve historical stuff. Like, are we changing it by fixing it up?
Good point. But then our source goes even deeper. They're saying the Sphinx has secret doors leading to tunnels. Tons of them.
And those tunnels, that's where things get crazy. The source is saying there could be tombs down there packed with alien artifacts. They even say that the Egyptian government and the CIA are keeping it all hush-hush for national security.
Okay, that's a bit out there. But imagine if it's true. What would it take for you to believe there's something seriously amazing hidden under there?
Well, extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof, right? I'd need to see other researchers saying the same thing, maybe from different times, and some real scientific analysis of any artifacts. We can't just take someone's word for it, especially when governments are supposedly involved.
Okay.
Got to have solid evidence.
That's fair. Now, this source also talks about a French guy, an Egyptologist named Lou Caparot. Back in '88, he supposedly found an alien mummy.
Yeah, the Osirant story. They describe it as a hybrid being, part alien, part human, all inside a crystal case. Apparently, this Osirant guy was a counselor to Pharaoh Khufu. There's even a papyrus that supposedly backs it up. But how reliable is this source anyway?
That's the question, isn't it? It's like we're trying to solve a mystery from forever ago. We need to look at all the clues, the evidence. But how do you even start to figure out what's real and what's fake, especially with ancient history and governments being all secretive?
Honestly, it's super tough. A lot of times you run into problems with access. Governments and other groups might block you from sites or information for all sorts of reasons, so it's hard to check things out yourself. Plus, old texts and artifacts, they can be interpreted in different ways, and that leads to totally different stories about what happened.
So with something like the Sphinx, something so mysterious, how do we sort it all out?
It takes a ton of careful research. You got to compare different sources, look for patterns, things that line up. You also got to be open to different viewpoints, even if you're skeptical. Critical thinking and all that.
Okay, so let's back up for a second. What even is a Sphinx, mythologically speaking? Why would they build something so huge based on that?
That's something people have been debating for centuries. The Sphinx lion body, human head, it usually represents strength, wisdom, being a protector. But get this, some folks think the Sphinx's face might have been changed over time. Like maybe they made it look like different pharaohs.
Wait, so the Sphinx we see now might not be the original one. That's crazy. And our source talks about a guy named Peter Tompkins. He wrote about a sarcophagus, like a stone coffin that had a human-shaped statue under the Sphinx. Another piece of the hidden chamber puzzle.
And there's more. Scientists have actually used ground-penetrating radar and stuff like that around the Sphinx. Guess what they found? Big metal objects underground. Metal usually means something man-made, like buildings or artifacts.
Oh, it sounds like there's way more to discover about the Sphinx than we ever thought.
Definitely. But we have to keep our heads on straight, right? We need to think critically about the sources, consider other explanations, and weigh all the evidence carefully. Can't get carried away.
Absolutely. We've heard about hidden chambers, alien encounters, the government hiding stuff, even just the idea of what a Sphinx is. What really stands out to you from all this?
For me, it's that we're still drawn to the unknown. The Sphinx has been a mystery for so long, and people keep coming up with new theories and arguments about it. It shows how much we want to understand our past, even the parts that are still a puzzle.
I hear ya. This deep dive has definitely made me more curious about it all. So imagine you're in charge of digging under the Sphinx. What would be your top priorities? What questions are you dying to answer?
That's a good one. I'd really want to find anything that tells us what the Sphinx was for, why they built it in the first place. Was it a tomb, a temple, some kind of giant calendar pointing at the stars, or something completely different? And what can it tell us about what the ancient Egyptians believed, what was important to them?
Fascinating stuff. We've talked about so many theories about the Sphinx, but maybe the biggest mystery is this. What was its real purpose? And how does that connect to the ancient Egyptians' beliefs and values? Something for everyone to think about as we keep exploring this ancient wonder.